Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. Some may say I'm horrible for doing this, but it serves Bertha right. I didn't have my engagement party because she was obsessed with her brother. She always seems to forget that they are not kids anymore. I've been married for about 3 years, but my husband and I were classmates in high school, and neither saw each other romantically. We met at a mutual friend's baby shower and hit it off there. I had never noticed him when we were in school. He was a nerd that few noticed, and I was one of the popular ones. I thought he was cute at the baby shower, but I didn't recognize him until he came to me and spoke as if he knew me. I was embarrassed by the little incident. He had cleaned up nicely. Honestly, I'm just being modest. He was hot. His twin sister was a pain in the ass, though. Apparently, she disapproved of our relationship. I had no idea why at first until she tried to set her brother up with a girl she approved of, even though we were in a serious relationship. She asked him to go out with her for lunch, which he did. He wasn't aware that it was a double date with herself, her boyfriend, and the girl she wanted her brother to be with. I remember Liam being so pissed after and narrating the story with so much disgust. He was polite, so he explained to the girl that he was in a serious relationship that was moving towards marriage. He wished her luck with finding the love of her life because he had found his. I wanted to confront Emma and throw her some punches, but I decided she wasn't worth my time. I had Liam all to myself, and there was nothing she could do about it. As time went on, I realized that she was threatened by me. She had never seen her twin brothers so in love and attached to someone else. Before me, she got all the attention, so she was scared that I was taking her brother away. That made no sense to me because it's not like she could date him or have kids with him. She also had her own boyfriend, and Liam was perfectly okay with it. I guess she hasn't loved the way Liam loves me. So it terrifies her. The rest of the family was amazing. They adored me and would often defend me when Emma was acting funny. All hell broke loose the day Liam proposed to me. She gave everyone a stink attitude, and anyone who crossed her path that day was in for something. I couldn't even be bothered as it was one of the happiest days of my life. Liam had planned the surprise so perfectly. I knew he would propose because we had talked about it a lot. We both knew we wanted to get married. I just didn't know how he was going to do it. Several times I would suspect him because he was planning something for me, but it would turn out to be one of his many loving gestures, no ring, so I just stopped trying to figure it out and just went with the flow. He finally did it in the cutest way ever. We had planned that it would be more intimate when he popped the question, but then we would have an elaborate engagement party. We set the date and got into planning. Every single thing was perfect and exactly how it was meant to be. My sister-in-law wasn't there while we were putting everything in place. Honestly, it wasn't a surprise to me, and I didn't care. On the day of our engagement party, my fiancé got a call that Bertha had been in a domestic accident. She said it happened while preparing to come for the party, and there was a fire at her house. I couldn't expect my husband and his family to behave like they hadn't just heard that their daughter was in a fire. If there was no groom and groom's family, there couldn't have been an engagement party. We all left everything to go to her house, which was stupid and expensive prank. The whole family was annoyed at her. They couldn't believe she would play with such a thing and ruin her brother's engagement party. I had never met someone as selfish and arrogant as her in my entire life. She thought that the whole world revolved around her. She made us waste so much money on an engagement party that didn't happen. Sister-in-law is getting married in a month, and I will get my revenge with a prank. I'll do what she did to me, except this time it would be on her wedding day. She loves everything to go her own way, and once she has an idea in her head, she won't let it go. I overheard her speaking to her best friend some months back about the venue she wanted for her wedding. She gave many reasons why she loved the place, even though there were more extravagant venues. That was when I hatched my plan. I told her family that she wanted a different venue but couldn't afford it. That's why she picked a different one. I made them think it would be a lovely present to get the venue she wants as a collective wedding gift. Everyone bought them, and I won them very quickly. I let my husband be the one to convince her fiancé since it would look like he knew his sister very well, so he had to be correct. Her fiancé was in on the plan. We spoke to the wedding planner, and she said she could fit right into our plan. Since I was the one who overheard the conversation, I was tasked with telling the wedding planner and working with her. I planned an extravagant wedding, but very opposite to what she actually wanted. It was so satisfying to see everything come alive. Bertha and her best friend were kept in the dark because if her best friend knew, Bertha would find out. Planning has been going amazingly. At this point, I wonder if this is really revenge because it looks good. Only it's just not what Bertha wants at all. So I think she would be pissed. Well, I hope she is. We also moved the time 2 hours later so she could go to the venue and no one would be there. That's where my revenge really is. That time, when she feels like everything has fallen apart, she can't find her groom or any guests. I can imagine all the thoughts that would roam her mind. Did I mention I'm also on her bridal train? Her mom forced her to include me, which is perfect for my plan. I'll see her reaction when she goes to the old venue. The wedding is in a few days, and all the guests have been informed of the venue. Her cake is different from what she wants and her decorations. I persuaded the event planner because she is our cousin, so this is a family affair, and she is rendering her services for free. No other event planner would have agreed to do this because they could get sued by the bride. I'm getting cold feet, but it's too late to back down now. I can't help but wonder what my husband and his family would do when they found out the truth. I was so consumed with giving her the opposite of what she wanted, so little Miss Perfect could get a taste of her own medicine. I'm not usually like this, but it's the many years of insults and hurtful things she did to me, especially when she made my husband and I get into a huge fight that caused me to go through with this. One night, I was having a pleasant time with my husband, and I almost told him, but couldn't bring myself to do it. If I had told him, everyone would know, but no plans were changing at that time because it would have been too late. Plus, I actually enjoyed planning the exact opposite of what she wanted. Her tastes and mine are so different sometimes that I wonder what goes on in her head. Wish me luck. I'll need lots of it these next few days. I got my perfect revenge. All hell broke loose. It was pretty bad. If she could kill everybody, she would have. I had no remorse because she charged at me and made it seem like I was the most horrible person in the world. This is tiny compared to what my husband and I went through because of her. The best part was that her other siblings were on my side. They confessed to me that they figured I was lying but didn't say anything because they thought she deserved it. It was funny to my husband and not really a big deal because I still planned a lovely wedding, just not what she wanted. Her parents kept a neutral ground, but I could tell they were not upset with me. If they had sided with me, there would have been more trouble. Bertha cried her eyes out, and when she was done, she wanted to come to fight me, but my husband restrained her and told her to go get married. She insulted me and said many horrible things, but I didn't say a word. I was getting my satisfaction by watching her be so worked up on her special day as she did to me. It was a lot of drama. Thank God I pushed the time. I was considerate enough so she could get a hold of herself and decide if she still wanted to get married. The only people I knew I owed an apology to were her fiancé and my husband. I didn't like lying to my husband, but I did and made him deceive Bertha's fiancé without knowing. Before the end of the night, they got their apology. Bertha's fiancé said he wasn't upset and was happy she didn't cut his head off for not telling her what was happening. My husband couldn't believe I pulled it off. He teased that I had no bad bone in me, so he made a joke about him being sorry that he corrupted me because I could plan and execute my revenge. AIHA? Probably am, but I enjoyed every bit of it. YTA, I can't believe you would play with someone's wedding day like that. You just behave like her. So stop complaining that she is this horrible person because you are like her too. NTA serves her right. Her siblings knew and didn't say anything, so she must really be a pain in everybody's ass. At least you still went through the trouble of planning a lovely wedding. If it were me, there would have been no wedding. I said what I said. NTA, I don't like girls who think they're entitled to their brother's love. I dated a guy who had a sister like her, so we broke up. He had to choose between his sister and me, and I guess our bond wasn't as strong as I had thought. My son, Ollie, is a senior and on ASB. They had organized a homecoming pep rally scheduled for this Friday. They've been preparing for a long time. There is a dance routine and a teacher versus student basketball game. Last week, Ollie tripped over a chair during the night and tore a ligament in his ankle. Obviously, he can't participate in the rally. They can't really continue with the program as planned with my son out. They really tried. The teacher in charge asked other seniors if they wanted to take my son's spot, but they declined because they didn't want to look stupid during a dance routine with 4 days prepped. That's when my 11-year-old son, Brian, said he wished he could take his brother's place. I thought about that and realized it was actually a good idea. He does a lot of gymnastics and picks up on choreography quickly. I had a talk with Ollie, who wasn't sure. I spoke to the teacher, who asked my son to do some of the choreography, and he impressed her. She said she would talk to the other students about Brian taking the spot of Ollie. The students thought the idea would be funny, and everyone agreed to it. My son would actually be paired with Ollie's girlfriend. The teacher told me that the rally is scheduled towards the end of the day on Friday, so Brian would have to miss 3 classes, 2 for prep and 1 for the rally. I spoke to 2 and they were fine with it. Whatever work they do on Friday can be made up on Monday. The third teacher, language arts, said she wasn't okay with his skipping class to go to a rally at the high school. That's not a valid excuse to miss class, so she won't let him make up a test that she was going to schedule. He would have to get a 0. I told her that it's not like he's skipping school to go to the park. If 2 teachers and the high school is okay, then why can't she? She said she doesn't play favorites. I told her it's not playing favorites. It's being reasonable. Would she have me just lie? She said, of course not, but that's her rule. I said, we'll leave it at that. I decided it wasn't worth this much drama, and my son getting a 0 on a test in the 6th grade wasn't going to ruin his life. I could be a dad dick and go over her head, but I won't. She did email me today and asked if I decided if my son was going to skip class to go to the high school rally. I replied he's skipping class because he has a doctor's appointment, so he'll make the test up per her rules. What is she going to do? Leave class to see if he's dancing in the rally? LOL. YTA, the teacher had a test assigned for that day, hence why the two other teachers allowing it has no bearing on whether the third teacher was unreasonable. Making up classwork, homework is nowhere near as intensive as trying to schedule a makeup test, date, time. All you did was teach your kid that it's okay to lie to get what you want and make other people's lives more difficult for the sake of your own personal gain. NTA, I'm not understanding this. If I want to take my child out of school for whatever reason, that's my right as a parent. End of discussion. OP, you gave courtesy heads up to the teachers. That's all that is needed. As long as the child is doing fine in classes, isn't on academic probation, nor does it facilitate any negative consequences, parental sound decision trumps any teacher, school, rights. Talk about overreach on the teacher. So this one is weird. My family hates me, but I feel like I did the right thing. Over a decade ago, my sister gave up custody of her 3 kids to their father. She was a drug addict, could care less about her children at that point in her life, and wanted no responsibility to them whatsoever. So when her ex divorced her, she willingly signed away all parental rights and spiraled out of control. 3 years ago, she hit rock bottom, got her life back together and remarried and has a child. Since then, she has been trying her hardest to reconnect with her other children, with no success at all. None of them wants anything to do with her. They have blocked her on all communication avenues and have made it very, very clear she is not welcome in their lives. The thing my family and sister didn't know is that I have been in their lives for a little over 5 years. One of them reached out to me wanting to reconnect with someone they remembered being kind to them from their mother's side of the family, and from there, I have become what I hope is a good uncle to them. I am very friendly with my ex-brother-in-law, and I will go and visit them at least twice a year for a week or 2. At their request, I have kept this secret from my family, as many of them are just as stable as my sister is, unfortunately. Somehow, my sister learned of this recently and all hell broke loose. My family has turned on me, declaring me evil and the biggest a-hole on the planet for not playing mediator and leaking information to them about the state of my sister's kids. My sister now believes I have been poisoning the well and further ruining any chances she has at reconnecting with her kids. On the other hand, this was their wish. They did not want my sister to know anything about them. On the other hand, I can see how much my sister hurts by how the situation currently is. I do believe she loves them with all her heart and wants to make things right. So I've reached a moral dilemma. I do want to add one thing in quickly. Even with what is going on, I have no plans to try and get my sister into contact with her disowned children. I am going to respect their wishes until they themselves decide otherwise. I will not try to convince them she has changed, as I feel that is not my battle to wage. NTA, your family wants someone to blame because they cannot face the reality that the relationship between your sister and her kids was irrevocably ruptured because of what she did, and there's no way she can get it back. But you have been in contact with the kids, so you know that both of these things are true, correct? Then you know that your intervention would have made 0 difference. They still would have refused any contact with your sister. They just also wouldn't have a kind uncle in their lives. Tell your family that the choice was never between you and your sister. It was between you and the kids' lives and nobody from their mother's side of the family in their lives. And if these relatives of yours weren't so selfish, they would be grateful that you'd been in a position to make sure the kids were doing okay. NTA, you're being a good uncle and you are under no obligation to give information about your sister's former children to her. considering the state they last saw her in. I think at this point, if you honestly feel like your sister is better and like it would be good for the kids, her to communicate, you should express that sentiment to the kids and ex brother in law. That said, I'm a little suspicious that your sister's first reaction was rage rather than seeing the amazing opportunity presented to her. That there's someone in her kids' lives that they trust who could set the foundation for her at least speaking to them again. It's up to you how to play it, but as long as you're doing whatever is best for the kids, you're NTA. NTA, the only problem I have with your story is the following. So I've reached a moral dilemma, not to my mind. You've been a good uncle to children who needed it. Furthermore, you've done this on their terms. As the child of addicts myself, I know those kids went through hell and back. You show them that you respect their wishes and that you are someone they can trust. My suggestion, let the kids and or brother-in-law know that the mother is now aware of the relationship you have with them. Reiterate that you have no intention of talking to their mom about them. Toxic families like yours and mine can't stand to see others have pretty shiny things. In their case, a healthy relationship outside their control. I wouldn't be surprised if one of your family members tried to alienate you from those kids